Yo, what's going on, guys? So today we're going to be reviewing some of the Week 3 games from Rothers Premier League. And since the first day and I had some time to record, I thought why not just record the first game of the week while I can. So we have UU versus Peterfred, which all I'm going to say is look at Volcarona and look at this team. At +1, Volcarona is not falling to any of these mons unless, I don't know, we got like Scarf Nidoking or Scarf Latios. Scarf Lando doesn't outrun, so yeah, maybe AV Torn can stop it, but yeah. So we'll just get right into it as UU leads off with Landorus and Peter leads off with Latios. So this is probably I actually haven't watched the game. I know who loses, but I haven't watched the games. This is a little bit of a live reaction to me. So Landorus versus Latios. So let's see. So he Dracos, it's probably Specs or Life Orb, yeah, Life Orb. And the Rock Tomb comes out, so Landorus gets rocks here, which is good for UU, as Latios just kills. So don't you just... You could either go Bisharp and just get one, because you can SD pretty freely here. Or you can go Volk and Quiver Dance. Volk is not a bad play either, but I think AV Torn lives, right? So let's just go to the damage calc. So go Volcarona. Let me get to SM, sorry. Volcarona. Offensive Quiver Dance versus Tornadus with Assault Vest. I don't think this is the right spread, but we'll just... Okay, so 63.3 to 74 versus AV. And if it has more SPDF invest or more HP, it's just probably not killing. So 252, for example. It's only doing 65. So after rocks, it's not even a kill, but it is a guaranteed 2 hit KO. And then if you have +1 on this, Hurricane's not doing too much, and that's from 196. So I think Volcarona or Bisharp here is a good play. I think Bisharp is slightly better, but we'll see as he goes into Volcarona. Okay, Landorus comes out. And Volcarona Quiver Dances. So you can just Fire Blast here then and kill something, which he does. Alright. And ooh. Yeah, so like I said, if Torn is AV, it's living that. Albeit that's probably a roll with whatever spread this is. I really doubt that this is like EV specifically for Fire Blast Volk. But if it is, I mean, kudos to my man. So, yeah. Oh, that's also a Life Orb Volk. Wow. Okay, so that's a lot of power. So let's actually pre-calc that Life Orb. I will just still put the 252. So that was actually very much in UU's favor to kill it. It looks like then. 75% chance versus 252. And yeah, we'll just assume this is Timid Volk. I'm gonna say that because I think that Lando was scarfed. But anyway, so that was very much in his favor to kill. I think I would have Fire Blasted too, to be honest. So I don't really think this is a throw of a play, but I mean, I can't blame the guy for Fire Blasting. I would have done the same shit. Then he gets Hurricaned. Oh, and that's... I bet this gets confused, right? Because I know UU loses the game, so... Yeah, if this gets confused right here, Mega Scizor can just go in. I guess Nidoking can, too. Because if he has Glalie, then Latios... Yeah, Glalie is his Mega. And Latios is, I think it's Thunder Wave or something like that. So now Mega Scizor is pretty free to just set up. Yep. And I'm guessing that's what happens, but we'll see. So what he could have done, I'll get to it in a sec. So he has Gardevoir. Kills. And the Scizor comes out and just forces that out. And it SDs. Bullet punches the Latios, Thunder Wave, and it misses. So there was no opportunity for hacks then. You couldn't para-hacks and try and with Bisharp or maybe HP Fire Gardevoir, I don't know. None of that was going to happen. Gets U-turned, and he goes into Nidoking. And it's looking like maybe you can do this with Sucker Punches and whatnot. But the Nidoking is substitute, so it just dodges the Sucker Punch, unfortunately for UU. And the Bisharp is Life Orbed as well, so yeah. that definitely didn't help dealing with the sub. I'm not sure why he clicked spikes there, but he did. So the return comes out, and now Scizor just gets 2 bullet punches for the win. So Peterford says GG, sorry for the hacks, but I actually think you could have played that better. I'm guessing that the Latias is Healing Wish. I actually have his team. I'm going to pull it up for the sake of this vid. So let's see here. So yeah, whoa, this team was changed a bit. I see. So that was Modest Volk, actually. And this Latios is changed to Latias. I'm gonna guess that this is Healing Wish Latias then. But if the Volk was not changed to Modest, then okay, no, it was changed from Modest to Timid because one, it outsped the Lando, and it didn't kill Torn. So it's Timid Volk now. This Latias, I'm guessing it's Healing Wish. About the Gardevoir, I'm not so sure. I think this is Energy. I think the Gardevoir stayed exactly the same. I think the same with well, this lost in prison for Rock Tomb, obviously. And I think Explosion as well, maybe. We're not sure. But regardless, if his Latias is Healing Wish, then he still could have healed up Volcarona and won with it again. Because to secure a kill on the Latias, for example, from Latios, or just having Volcarona at full health in general, it can come in on Scizor, it can come in on Nidoking if it's full health, after a sack, obviously. And you could have re-hit with Volcarona, and it would have been really nasty. So, while yeah, the hacks is there, really unfortunate roll for him. He probably had the game won if Tornadus died that turn, but it didn't, and he didn't play around that. I think, yeah, the confusion is rough. I think once you're confused, you do have to just give it up and try and heal it up, because Volcarona is so important in this match, and it can still set up on so many other things. So, while yes, he had the matchup with Volcarona, the matchup Moth, he did Quiver Dance on that Latios and kill the Lando and the Torn. Meanwhile, Peter actually played pretty bad, not going Torn immediately, I guess, if that was his only Mon that lived. Or maybe he should have gotten Wash. I guess it does have Giga Drain. So how much does Giga Drain do to Wash with Life Orb? Wash +1 Giga Drain. Oh wow. Oh wait, hold on. Let's do 252 at least. Jesus Christ. So yeah, I mean, Peter Fred just wasn't beating Volk ever then. I don't think he could have ever outplayed it, especially once rocks were up. So yeah, that's a rough one for you with the roll. But at the end of the day, you could have Healing Wished, most likely, if you had Healing Wish on Latias, which I'm guessing you definitely did. Volcarona could have come right back in. Yeah. But otherwise, I think this is a pretty solid game. So, yeah. I'll catch you guys whenever the next game is. Yo, what's going on, guys? We're back with some more tournament videos for Week 3. Tournament recordings for Week 3. I think this is going to be in the same video, obviously. But just starting off with another day. So, for today, we've got Chess versus Cows 123P. On Team Preview, it looks pretty good for Cows, actually. Superior and Volcarona both really good into this team. They complement each other pretty well, too. Obviously, they both struggle with Tornadus a little bit, but Tornadus can't handle everything. There's a lot of pressure on Tornadus to handle Serp, Volk, Mega Altaria. It's just pressure on Torn to do everything. So let's just get right into it. So Chess leads off with Tornadus, as Cows leads off with Landorus, as Chess just goes for the taunt early game, trying to deny those rocks, and then gets that U-turn on the Landorus, breaking the Focus Sash, which is nice. He goes into Ferrothorn, as he goes for Rock Tomb on turn 2. Good play by both, I think. Ferrothorn then goes for Spikes, which is pretty big. And the Superior taunts the Ferrothorn, which I don't think you should have ever gone Superior on Ferrothorn, to be honest. I don't think it's not really a Pokemon that deals with Ferrothorn, well, without HP Fire, and you'll see that this Superior does not have HP Fire. So Superior just gets knocked, and I believe it has Light Clay. It does. And Chess actually doubles back into Tornadus. I think he was either expecting Lando or not expecting Glare. Probably expecting Screens. But regardless, very good play by Chess. He ends up U-turning. I think just trying to, not really caring about rocks too much anymore. So Ferrothorn gets its spikes up, which is nice. And then Cows makes a play that I really don't agree with, which is going Volcarona right here. Obviously, you want to get Volcarona in before rocks come down. But on the Ferrothorn that's revealed knockoff, I'm not so sure that going Volcarona right into it is the right play. Especially after, you want to chip things like Garchomp and Keldeo first, and Tornadus as well, a little bit more before you can go into Volcarona. This should be more of an endgame Pokemon, rather than a early game Pokemon, for sure. So Cows does kind of throw with his Volk, loses the Lumberry, and Chess goes right into Garchomp, which is a pretty good check for Volcarona. You'll see this Garchomp is actually special defensive, with Flamethrower only doing 17. And Chess goes for Toxic. Now you'll think, why didn't he go for Rocks? Well, Toxic is always the play there in case of Mega Ulteria or Manaphy. So just going for Rocks there, while it sounds good because Volk is dead on next switch in, Toxic is always the play in case of Mega Ulteria or Superior or Manaphy. So yeah, that's why I did that. Chess then goes for Protect, trying to scout what Landorus has, and Landorus actually has Imprison. So it has Stealth Rock, Rock Tomb, and Imprison. And the last move will actually shock you. I did not think it was going to have this for the last move. It goes for Explosion. Then Volcarona comes out, and Chess only has one option really, is going into Garchomp, as the Quiver Dance is definitely going to be the play here. And the bulky Giga Volcarona just isn't enough for the Spadef Garchomp. The Garchomp beats the Volcarona, sorry. And Mega Ulteria comes out. Now, this Mega Ulteria actually ended up being Sub-Dragon Dance, which is extremely threatening to Chess's team. Regardless, though, you should never, Dragon Dance here. And the reason for that is because of Toxic and Earthquake. If you Mega and you Dragon Dance, then the Garchomp gets chipped into Mega Ulteria with Earthquake, and if you Mega and Dragon Dance, it can also get Toxic, and then Ferrothorn will be able to beat it. So Frustration or Substitute is normally your play here, which is why Chess goes into Tornadus, but Cows actually ends up Dragon Dancing, which helps him a lot. Dragon Dance is not a play that you would have expected there, so it was really good for Cows to do that, actually. And it's puts Chess in a really bad situation as Frustration one-shots Torn after Rocks, and Chess goes into Mega Zam as a last-ditch effort, actually, to beat this. And the Psychic comes out from Mega Alakazam, so that does the most damage to Altaria. But Cows clicks Earthquake for some reason. Now, let me show you why this is a throw. Sorry. I have my keyboard set up differently so that my mic picks me up a little bit better. Can you guys see? Oh, whoops. That's why you can't see. Uh-oh. I did something. You can bear with me. There we go. So go to SM. We'll go to Altaria. We'll do OU Dragon Dance. And I don't think it's max attacks on this team, but we can calc it just because. Alakazam, Mega. And so at +1, Earthquake, yes, it's a roll, but it's not in Cal's favor at all. That being said, Frustration or Return is doing 164 to 193. So it's definitely killing Alakazam there. And I think maybe he was fearing Ferrothorn. But let's see. So the Ferrothorn is at 70. So I think it's... That's not the spread. Ferrothorn. I think it's... You know what? For the sake of this, let's just say it's max Pharaoh. And we'll also change that to level 100. Which I don't think it is. Return into Earthquake would do around 50 to this. And you'd finally get Leech Seed, and then Earthquake would kill it after that. Right? Or you could sub because you can't Leech Seed. And it's not Gyro Ball on this team, keep in mind. It's already revealed Spikes and Knockoff. It could still be Gyro Ball in Cows' mind, but Earthquaking on the Zam was definitely not the play. Just going for that kill would have been bigger there. Especially because you could probably Healing Wish with Latias later. And get Altaria back, or you can maybe go for a sweep with Superior after Ferrothorn dies somehow. I just think removing Kazam is just the obvious play here. And then the Mega Latias gets taunted. And it turns out the Latias has no attacks, so it just struggles. And then the Bisharp comes in, and I think you just get to SD right here. Yeah, which is what Chess did. And he goes for Reflect, and he knock off. He goes for SD once more, and the Sucker Punch into the Superior. Now this turn is a great one. So he's against God Miwa, but it's nothing against the true Lord and Savior Allah. So watch this. My friend Chess here, he says, okay, pray Ramadan Slash. Give me a prayer. I give him that Bismillah prayer. It's over. Goes for that Tail Glow, and we get that crit on that Manaphy. I don't think that crit mattered too much, to be honest, because he clicked Tail Glow. So let's see. Bisharp versus Manaphy. Let's go with this set, just for the sake of, you know, because I think, let's do +3, right, or no, sorry, +4. Knock off. And it does have an item, so let's just give it some random item. Regardless, we do have to crit through screens to kill it. I don't think the crit really matters because Keldeo just comes in right after. Though it can... No, I'm right. Keldeo comes in right after, and it's not a big deal. So, yeah. But the crit was nice. And the Bisharp, then SDs and the Laddie for that BM. Yeah. And Chess wins the game after pretty thrown by Kalos, to be honest. The Volcarona definitely needed to be played a little bit better. That Altaria should have killed the Mega Alakazam. I don't think Mega Altaria won outright, but it definitely weakened stuff like Ferrothorn for Manaphy. And Latias was very good against Keldeo, being able to Healing Wish that Manaphy, or that Serp, or that Altaria again. So Cal's definitely could have played the game better. But you know what? I'm happy because guess what? Chess is on my team, so, you know, that's how it be. Alright, next we're going to go into Hori versus, whoops. We're going to go into Hori versus, we're just going to call him C Numbers. I'm going to switch sides since he's on my team. So we got Trick Room into Hyper Offense here. Now, this sounds good for the Trick Room team, except we're up against a Doublade, a Crocodile, and a Gyarados, all of which are pretty tough for Trick Room. Venomoth is actually pretty tough as well, because I'm pretty sure it lives anything from Audino pretty easily and just fires off Bug Buzzes, though Escavalier checks it pretty well. If it does have Overcoat, then I don't think it can be slept by any powder moves, so yeah. Ursaring, though, is very good once Doublade is removed. Double Ghost is kind of rough for Ursaring, because for the SD close combat, then you have to hit it with Crunch, and Crunch is not going to do much to Doublade. And yeah, Crocodile is always hard for Trick Room, because it has Taunt and Knockoff, so yeah. So Hori leads off with Crocodile into Audino, goes for that Taunt, turn 1, and Audino knocks the Crocodile's Rocky Helmet. Good play by C Numbers, to be honest, expecting that Taunt. This Crocodile goes for Rocks, and this is where I don't really get what Hori was doing, because you could have just taunted the Slowbro again. I don't think Scald ever kills you, but you know what, Sylveon is not a bad play either, so I can't hate him too much for that one. C Numbers goes into that Bronzong as the Sylveon fires off Hyper Voice, and that is definitely not Spec Sylveon with only 17 into Bronzong, as it actually goes for Substitute, but you'll see that this isn't really the greatest use of Hori's time, because the Gyro Ball insta-breaks, and Hori then goes for CM, not even getting Chip into the Bronzong, and then he finally goes into Doublade. So yeah, I think he should have gone to Doublade to start off with. You know, health on Sylveon is pretty big in this game, I think. The Doublade goes for the Swords Dance, and Shadow Sneaks the Slowbro. Does a good amount of damage, and the Scald then comes out from Slowbro. So yeah. Doublade then goes for Shadow Sneak again. Shadow Sneaks again, not sure why. I think Sacred Sword was fine there. I guess he was reading Slowbro for some reason. He knocks the Doublade once more, getting it super low, which is really good for C Numbers, because Doublade is a huge threat to Slowbro and not so much Ursaring anymore, because it's so low. But yeah. And yeah, see, this guy didn't even think he had it because of the Shadow Snake. And yeah, Ursaring is faster, so it beats the Blade there. Crocodile comes in, which little interesting. Also very interesting that Knock was used. I think Earthquake and getting more chip and Ursaring would have been better there, but I think overall going into something like Gyarados or Frostlass and getting that Destiny Bond off, maybe an Intimidate can stop Ursaring from KOing. I don't know. I don't think Crocodile and sacking it was the play there, especially when it's Intimidate and can come in for free on stuff like Bronzong. Not for free, sorry. Let me actually see how much Bronzong is doing to Crocodile with Gyro Ball after -1. Because remember, we do have to calc that Intimidate. So yeah, it's only doing 20 to Bronzong. Oh, that's Reflect. Oh wow, okay, it's doing a lot more. So it's not actually very free versus Crocodile. That being said, I still think with Bronzong at 100 then, yeah, because you would want to weaken Bronzong then for potential Sylveon, no? So I don't understand why Crocodile is being sacked there, but we'll see later on. The Gyarados goes with Waterfall, killing the Ursaring, and getting Moxie, and that's where it's like, oh shit, this could go bad. Escavalier is sent out, and Bounce comes in from Gyarados. The Slowbro comes out, and misses the Bounce onto Slowbro. As Slowbro then goes for Trick Room, and Psychics the Gyarados. The Slowbro slacks off, gets hit by Rocky Helmet, and Psychics again. So that Bounce miss was pretty big for C numbers there. That was pretty much looked like a pretty one game, although the Helmet Chip plus some more Trick Room turns could have been rough. So that being said, I may be wrong, because so the Slowbro bounced before Trick Room even came up. Let's go back. So the Slowbro comes in at 60. Bounce misses that exact same turn, which is huge. And I think he Trick Rooms here, right? So I'm not sure why Dragon Dance was used there when bouncing was pretty good, right? Because that way, if he sets up Trick Room, you stall a turn of him attacking you and get a bounce, potentially pair off, right? So I think maybe bouncing there was better? I don't know. The Psychic comes out from Gyarados. Psychic comes out from Slowbro, he goes for Bounce, and then Slack Off is free. So I think bouncing when Slowbro was lower was definitely better. Escavalier comes in on Sylveon, and it goes into Frostlass. As Escavalier actually goes for Pursuit there, it doesn't kill the Frostlass. So very nice for C numbers. And the Mega Horn does kill the Frostlass. Then Gyarados comes in, Waterfalls to Escavalier, gets Iron Headed, so it doesn't KO. Venomoth comes in, hits with Bug Buzz. Bronzong then comes in. So if this Venomoth was Sleep Powder though, right? If it was Sleep Powder, why aren't you clicking it there? Your only way now is to set up and win, right? I know the Gyro Ball is rough, but I don't know, wouldn't you at least sleep it before Bug Buzzing and get more Bug Buzzes off? That's what I would do. So yeah, then Bronzong ends up winning out. So I think this game could have been played a lot better by Hori. Maybe getting those spikes up earlier. I don't know, there's a lot of things that could have been played different. I think the Blade could have been played better. Saving that for things like Escavalier and Ursaring rather than trying to make progress with it. I think stopping those sweepers and getting your damage with hazards is a lot bigger that game than trying to force progress with the Blade into Rocky Helmet Slowbro. Especially given that you have other Slowbro answers in Calm Mind Sylveon, Venomoth, Gyarados as well, as it's not taking that much damage, and Frostlass, and arguably Crocodile as well, which could have removed that helmet, and actually, then your progress with Doublade isn't so unjustifiable because the helmet is gone. So I think Hori could have played this a lot better. Obviously, that bounce miss into Slowbro is unfortunate. But regardless of that, Hori could have played a lot better. And I'll end the review of these two games here, and I'll see you guys in the next match. Alright, so next we got my game versus Roseland. So I brought a ranked team with Keldeo, Swampert, Tornadus, Mana, Pharaoh, and Pelly. And he brought a kind of bulky offense. Not even bulky, really. I'm going to just call this offense, bro. And so the matchup looks okay, or pretty good for me, to be honest. Superior is kind of a threat, although I do have Torn. Diancie is annoying when rain is done because my only Pokemon that can really outspeed and beat it is Swampert. Gyarados is annoying for every rain team. And so is Torn and Clef if I mess up somewhere, but yeah. So I let off with Pelipper. I didn't expect him to actually lead Tornadus. I immediately went into Swampert because I thought he would just knock off. Although if he had Hurricane, it could have been really bad. So he goes into Gyarados as I just go for Waterfall. Just trying to get some damage into Tornadus, but he went into this, so. He then Dragon Dance with his Gyarados. And I think right away I just went Ferrothorn because, yeah, that's my check to it. As he goes for Bounce, I go for Power Whip. Bounces again, I miss the Power Whip. Keeps bouncing, and I miss again. But it's all good. Because Gyarados pretty much never beats Ferrothorn one-on-one. It's a little annoying, though, because I have less HP to fight Excadrill with, but it's not a big deal. I then actually spike up, and I get the spike staying versus Excadrill as I double into my Torn on the Earthquake, which is a little helpful against Diancie and Superior, but otherwise it's eh. I U-turn off of Diancie, and I think I went into Manaphy here, hoping I'd live. But Diancie is just too strong. I then went Pelipper, and I think I decided to sack Ferrothorn, which I did, yeah. And then from there, my only option is to go into Swampert, which should get one with Waterfall here. I don't get a flinch on Torn, which is fine, but, you know. And then I Waterfalled again, I think. And then I Ice Punched, got rid of Superior, which was nice, and I still had 3 turns of rain left. I actually went Keldeo here. I wasn't expecting hard Moonblast, but that's what he did. I was expecting Calm Mind, which could have been bad. Part of me wanted to stand with Swampert, and I probably should have, looking back. Because I don't think +0 Moonblast ever kills Swampert there. So I think this was a bit of a misplay by me, to be honest. But you'll see, at the end it all just works out. Of course, though, you have to fear the Keldeo and Rain. So he sacks his Diancie, then goes Tornadus. I go into my Tornadus and Hurricane. Here I taunted in case he went hard Clef. This actually isn't a bad play if he goes hard Clef. Or no, it's sort of bad if he goes hard Clef, because then he takes Hurricane and whatnot. But I'm saying my taunting isn't the worst play because I don't really need Tornadus at this point in the game. It doesn't really beat anything. So, sure, I could have Hurricane and got rid of his Torn right then and there. But I don't think it was necessary. And he U-turned anyway, so yeah. Then he goes into Clef, and this is where it gets a little bit scary with his Calm Minds. Calm Minds, my Scald does only 51, so I decide to Hydro Pump, get some more chip into it. And I Waterfall the Clef, it does 62, and I hang on, just barely. So I think I'd still won this just because he didn't soft boiled there, because Waterfall was doing so much, and I think this Moonblast was a roll. I guess we can calc it. +1, let's remove the Life Orb. I'm gonna sneeze, hold on. Bless me. I'm gonna remove this Life Orb. Oh wow, so he had to get a pretty high roll then, because let's say I'm at 45, I think that's what I was, right? Right, so Keldeo dies, and I am at what, 45, that's right. So, at 45, he had a 31% chance of killing my Swampert there. And then I think my Pelipper would have come in right after, though. And I think I had Scald, right? So Scald. Jesus, I can't type. Scald in the rain, obviously. Yeah, so it would have done enough to finish this off. And my Pelipper was already faster, and we knew that. So the Clef would have died to Scald, and I think Torn would have too. A little shaky on that Torn, though, because that may have been vested. So I guess we can calc that. Tornadus, Therian, and we're going to say Vest. We're also going to give this 252 HP, because I don't trust that. And I think we can remove Spadef and see. So yeah, he actually probably would have won had he hit that roll. So I'm sorry. But thankfully he didn't. It was in my favor to win that, so yeah. So like I said earlier, the main misplay I think I had was going Keldeo on the Clef earlier. especially because that Moonblast never had a chance of killing right then and there. So, yeah, definitely think I could have played this better, but the matchup was so good for me that it didn't really matter too much. So yeah, next game is Louise Gamer versus Jules, where we have Jules bringing a, I guess I'm gonna say bulky offense type of shit, and Louise just bringing a hyper offense. So, let's get right into it. I think I watched this game. I did. This is the almost throw. So he leads off with Frostlass, and Jules leads off with Hydreigon. Dark Pulse connects with the Frostlass, and he gets hit with Icy Wind. Then goes for Spikes. Good play by Louise. Gets another Spikes, and not Rose Raid, sorry. They look so similar. Frostlass kind of does its job. Sylveon goes for the Hyper Voice, doing 38 to the Snorlax, which is actually a good amount. He then goes for Psyshock, which I'm not really sure why. Hyper Voice was good into everything. So yeah. It's a play that I really don't get, actually, because think about it. Hyper Voice, it was doing what before? 38? If Jules returns here, 38 times 2 is what? I'm slow, I need to figure this out. That's 76, bro. So this is dead. And then nothing can even switch into Hyper Voice. So yeah, Hyper Voicing was always the play there. Psyshock was a throw. Like and a half. So then he gets his Gyarados in. Gyarados goes for the sub, bounce, and here's where you're going to see the magic. The bounce misses, and the Slowbro went for counter. Which is really, really unfortunate. The Absol Psychics. It's not afraid of Absol, so Louise brings in Nidoking, goes for Sludge Wave, then I think just goes for Ice Beam, eventually gets his rocks up, brings the Gyarados back in. Slowbro's in a bit of trouble because it lives the counter, and Slowbro's paralyzed, which is not great for Gyarados, or not great for Slowbro, sorry. Let me just focus, hold on. So this is really bad because Gyarados has outs versus this Slowbro. This Slowbro should always beat this Gyarados right here. But unfortunately, for Jules, it's paralyzed and Waterfall has a flinch chance, which is just not good. I think every time, what's it called? Louise should be going into his Sylveon. I'm pretty sure Sylveon lives Scald. With the rocks and spikes up against Snorlax here, this Hyper Voice could be doing so much against this team, but the Sylveon is just being thrown right here. So, yeah. He keeps trying to bounce kill this Slowbro, though, for some reason. Finally goes into Sylveon, revenging this, when he should have actually killed something earlier and then went for Gear Sweep. But crits the special defensive Gligar, which is good for him. Then switches out of Sylveon versus Hydreigon. I think this is justifiable. He probably didn't want to get Flash Cannon or anything. Sylveon is still decent right here, so if Hydreigon gets locked in Draco somehow, probably won't be clicking Draco versus his team. I think it actually does live Dark Pulse as well, so the Lucario comes out, and we all think it's just good game. It's over. Everyone's like, oh, it's over. Yep, GG. Lucario goes for SD, and then goes for Extreme Speed, and it does nothing. Now, I actually want to see if that's a roll or not. Of course, I don't have Jules spread, so let's go to Sun and Moon. Infernape. Let's do, this is not it. Let's also get rid of Hasty. Let's go with Jolly, max HP, Lucario, Swords Dance. We'll do +2. So that could have been a low roll if it's just HP invested, but something tells me there's also defense invest. We could do 252 just for the hell of it. So obviously if it's max Infernape, which it's not, we know that. If that's HP invested Nape, and only HP, that's a pretty bad roll for Louise, right? Because it's at 76. Yeah, that's rough. If that's a roll, that's rough. Of course, I don't have the Infernape spread, so I have no way of knowing. But yeah, then Lucario gets dealt with pretty handily by the Infernape right there. Absol comes out, goes for the knockoff. He SDs again, and then Sucker Punches the Swampert. Hyper Voice comes out, and here, hold on. Hyper Voice comes out, killing Mega Swampert, and this is the almost throw. So you see here that the Snorlax has already slept 2 turns. All he has to do is sack 1, and then go Snorlax, sorry, and win. He can sack the Swampert, he can sack Hydreigon, doesn't matter. So Swampert dies to the sack, right? But then he goes Hydreigon. And you're like, oh, okay, maybe he will Dark Pulse, maybe he'll Flash Cannon, whatever. But he actually goes for U-turn. And then goes into Snorlax. Snorlax then takes 41, and Sylveon's faster. So then Sylveon does get the kill on Snorlax. This is tough now because I think Dark Pulse from Hydreigon is a roll. If it doesn't have Flash Cannon, obviously. Even Jules said it was a roll. And so, it was at what, 16? So obviously it's in Jules' favor to win that, still. But it shouldn't have even gone to that, you know what I mean? That being said, you know, if the Infernape is only HP invested, like I mentioned earlier, that's really, really rough for Louise right there. Louise definitely could have played Sylveon a lot better, I think. But other than that, it was a pretty good game to watch overall, so yeah. Next we'll get into Condor versus Taka. This is probably my favorite game from this week. Not really. My team lost it. But still my favorite game nonetheless. We have a UU game. So Condor has brought some kind of bulky offense looking shit. Same with Taka. And the matchup doesn't look bad for Condor at all. Because he has Pidgeot, a Donphan that can remove items from Mandibuzz, Seismitoad, and potentially Gardevoir. Definitely Gardevoir, what am I saying? Also handles Aerodactyl decently well with Slowbro right there. Deblade's not too threatening because of Donphan either. And yeah, anyways, so the lead matchup is between Donphan and Seismitoad, and Condor instantly switches to Sylveon, which is a solid play. And he goes for the Hyper Voice. It does like 0 to Snorlax, obviously. Doubles back. Just getting a lot of doubles right here. And the Pidgeot comes in, which is pretty big. He goes for the U-turn against Mandibuzz, which is fine. Sylveon then comes in, gets foul played. Taka just trying to damage that Pidgeot, most likely. I think... yeah, so Heal Bell comes out, which is pretty good. I think we see the Wish here into the Hyper Voice, which crits the Seismitoad. Very big crit, by the way. Getting chip into that Toad is awesome for Donphan, Lucario, and Haxorus. Then he actually goes into Donphan. Sorry. So yeah, let's just play that back. He crits the Seismitoad, which is awesome. Seismitoad switches out into Snorlax as Condor goes into Donphan. Very good play by Condor. Knocking the Snorlax is awesome there. Snorlax goes for Curse, and Condor gets those rocks off his side. Then goes into Pidgeot, trying to maybe confuse Hex. That's Snorlax while it's low. If Taka rests, then it just gets Hurricaned. His whole team gets Hurricaned. So Pidgeot actually ends up U-turning, which is pretty solid because now Condor gets to keep momentum and force that Sylveon in there to Hyper Voice something, which is really good for Condor. Of course, the Snorlax comes back, and he ends up Heal Belling, which is fine. And now the Snorlax is asleep. Very good for Condor. As the Donphan comes out, Stealth Rock comes up from Condor, and Taka instantly defogs, which is good for Taka. I mean, and the Haxorus double comes out, which is like, oh shit. Now this thing is a big threat to this team, even with Deblade, and you'll see why it's such a big threat. So he SDs here, I believe. And here you always Earthquake, right? Because if he goes Mandibuzz, that's fine. You just Outrage and kill the Mandibuzz. And yes, you get traded by Gardevoir, but killing that Mandibuzz is huge because now you keep rocks the whole game. And you still have stuff like Lucario to now win the whole game for you. So here you always Quake and try and get damage into Blade, or if he goes Mandibuzz, you Outrage. If he goes Gardevoir, you Earthquake again. It doesn't matter really at this point. But Condor ends up switching, which doesn't really make much sense. He brings back the Mandibuzz. Stealth Rock's up, which is pretty good. And then I think he's able to remove the leftovers from Mandibuzz, which is pretty good for him as well. So maybe Condor just wanted to make some more progress with knocking items before he really committed to anything, which is fine. Donphan gets rocks up again, and then the Sylveon comes out. Wishing, then he keeps the Donphan healthy against the Doublade, which is awesome. He knocks off, stays in against Mandibuzz, and it gets U-turn, and he gets rocks up again. Then Sylveon gets sent in to handle this. I believe he just hyper voices here, but he actually goes for Wish. I think he's also not hyper voicing on that Doublade enough. That's another thing. The knockoff on the Seismitoad is great, but staying in here on this Scald was absolutely not. You really do need the HP on Donphan right here. It's your main Doublade answer. Yeah, like Nike said, staying in there at the start good, but way too long. So the Specs Gardevoir is revealed, and Donphan ends up getting sacked, which makes sense. The Mandibuzz gets Thunder Waved, and a really good para for Condor. But then he wishes, which is like, huh? And here you obviously Hyper Voice, which does a decent deal of damage to the Blade. Yeah, 26, so nothing crazy. Then Specs Gardevoir is still revealed. Thunder Wave misses, which is pretty bad for Condor, not gonna lie. The Wish comes out, Haxorus gets wished up, and the Doublade gets to +2. So now, because the Sylveon is bold, it actually forces Doublade out now, instead of keeping it in. But the Specs Gardevoir is in too far. So Sylveon comes out, the Pidgeot gets sacked, the Lucario comes in, and unfortunately the Aerodactyl is Pursuit. So there's no real win condition out for Condor now. Condor really should have played this differently. His Donphan was super good into the Blade. Letting it get knocked and scalded was pretty bad. He definitely did have to weaken Seismitoad a tiny bit, but I think he took that too far. He also, I don't think he hyper-voiced enough earlier. When he has rocks down, Snorlax is asleep. Hyper-voicing is really good because it makes a lot of progress against stuff like Doublade, Snorlax, and Gardevoir and Aerodactyl definitely don't want to switch into it at all. So making that progress against Doublade and Snorlax would have been huge because it opens up either a Lucario win, it opens up a Haxorus win as well by killing Doublade, and then of course you would still have Slowbro alive, hopefully, because you didn't throw against Gardevoir at that point. So yeah, so it was a pretty good game because Condor really did have a matchup, and he played parts of this game very well, but there were just other parts he didn't play all that hot. So yeah, really good games this week overall, I think. A little less chokes than last time. So yeah, I will catch you guys in the next video, and have a great day.